Isn't it super frustrating when you feel so distracted, overwhelmed? Your environment makes you feel disempowered. You're not having the knowledge capable to succeed in whatever path you're in, or even have the entertaining side where that people actually listen and be engaged by you. Well, I have an academy rolling out before you guys watch this video. It's going to teach you guys how to eliminate all your distractions, how to be of service and contribution to other people in your life, how to be an example, and truly have a vision. So if you guys are interested, shoot me a key on my Instagram. There's 8 of 25 spots filled already. So come get your spot and enroll in my academy before all the spots get filled. Enjoy the video. I wanted to make this video because I think it's important to add value, number one, to really be focused, to be an example for people, and really have a vision for my life. So what I wanted to do today was tell my story. A lot of people have asked me what my story is, what my accomplishments are, what I do that's valuable, what my failures are, what I've lost in my life, and many different things that it's actually very hard for us, and it's super frustrating when you get to a point in your life where there's a lot of people around you, you have a lot of connections, different friends, but it's very difficult for you to communicate with them and really connect with them. And I had that issue in my life at a very young age, to the time that I can remember my thoughts, 4 or 5 years old. I could proudly say, and I was fortunate that I had my father as a mentor. The unfortunate thing that was growing up is that since my dad was a preacher and my dad was in the military, 26 years, retired sergeant major, he's a man of God and he's a man of service, and he served our country for most of his life. The issue was with me growing up that I never really had a chance to express myself in a way, in the different emotions that I had to my father, and it was hard for me to do that. So once I got out of college and out of the, I guess, more of the independence that I had in my life, I started to really figure out that I really loved connecting with people and really expressing myself in a way that people just found value in. And the best way I can do it for you guys was to record this video here. So growing up, I grew up very fortunate. I was the epitome of a average middle-class kid. I played sports, extracurricular activities. I played the piano. I was in music, and I dove into different things to really try to figure out what I really liked best. Going into middle school, I started to play a lot more sports and started transition from music. I played the drums and piano to football, baseball, and basketball. And the cool thing was that I always had a training regimen put in place beyond outside what I did in school and beyond what I did in my sports organizations. And I think that's what really set me ahead of a lot of people, is that I was able to have the training available. And now today, even in business and in sales, I continuously am trained and mentored by people that can really change your life as well, and I would love to introduce you to those people. But here's the cut and dry, untold story of the MAINE KEY. So all the way up through high school, I just grew up average. I played video games, played football. I'm 5'7", I'm 165, so it isn't like nothing's really crazy about me. The only thing that really makes me unique is just the way I look. I'm Filipino, I'm half black, and sometimes people say that my voice is unique, so I think that's pretty cool. But going into high school and going into college, I realized that every 2 years, something changed in my life. From 5th to 6th grade, I moved high schools. I moved middle schools. From 7th to 8th grade, I moved to a new city. From 8th grade to 10th grade, I went to high school, so that was another change in my life. From 10th grade through 12th grade, I changed to high school again. And from my freshman year of college and sophomore year of college, I lived in South Dakota for 2 years, played college football, whole 9 yards. And what really helped me to the point that I am in my life is a few things here. Really what I was failing at and where my losses were to really help me reconsider what I was doing in my life. So my sophomore year of high school, my sophomore year of college actually, I was playing college football. I was a $195. I was swole. I was taking care of what I need to. But what happened was I got in trouble for smoking weed. I was in an apartment with 5-6 other dudes. We were just having a good time. I said I lived in a penthouse. It was a 5-story apartment building, and I lived in the corner. I thought it was pretty cool. And we were just sitting there having a good time, sitting there, toking it up, doing what we need to. And then all of a sudden, I get a knock on the door. One of my friends comes out. He's an entrepreneur today. You should connect with him. And he's like, "Hey, Jermaine, the cops are here." I was like, "What? The cops are here?" My eyes are bloodshot red. I hop in the shower, act like I'm not doing anything crazy, and then they're like, "Jermaine, the cops are actually here." So I go to the front door of my apartment. Right when I open up the door, the cops look at me and like, "Oh my gosh, your eyes are bloodshot." And I knew I was gonna get in trouble then. The whole house just smelled like smoke, and the cops came into our room. They escorted everybody out and lined us up in a wall. And this is where really the change started happening in my life. They lined us up on the wall, and before the cops even were able to say anything, I said this: "Hey, Mr. Officer, this is my apartment and I take full responsibility for everything that's gonna happen here. All these other people here, they're not responsible for anything." So the cops let them go. They sat me on a bench, just like I'm sitting on right now, and they searched my whole room. They searched my whole room for everything. They found a little grinder, a grinder, if you guys know what that is, a piece of paraphernalia, and they wrote me a ticket for it. And going into my junior year of high school, I wasn't able to get the scholarship boost I wanted, and so I decided to move back to Texas. At that very moment, I called my dad and I called my head coach and told him about the situation because they were going to find out anyways. And it was a very interesting phone call I had with my dad, because I would think he would be frustrated at me. I thought he was going to yell at me. I thought he was going to discipline me and keep me super obedient. But what he told me was, "Jermaine, I'm disappointed." And I wanted to ask you guys, have you ever disappointed anybody in your life? And what type of feeling does that give you when you guys feel disappointed to somebody? It was the worst feeling I ever had. So I decided, instead of me going into my junior year at that high school, at that college, and not getting the scholarship boost I wanted, I decided to move back to Texas and live with my parents and reconsider where I was going to go to school, because it was cheaper for me to live with my parents and go to school in Texas than it was on the partial scholarship I was at South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, where I studied engineering. So I took a semester off and I started working at Domino's as a delivery driver. And when I was working at Domino's as a delivery driver, I had a good friend of mine. His name's Adrian. He's in the military now. He was reading books, and I was never a person who was reading. I was in school. I never liked it. So I just found the easiest way for me to just get by. And you guys can attest to it too, is that most of the time we live our lives on autopilot. We live our lives just doing enough to get by, and just doing enough to live a content, satisfied life. Don't do too much. Don't trust too many people. Don't take too many risks. And that's what I was taught growing up. So my friend was reading a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it was weird. I was like, "Why are you reading books? I got friends from high school who just play video games and sports, and he's sitting here reading a book." So I opened up the book and took a look at it, and that book changed my life. I bought that book at Target while I was still working at Domino's as delivery driver. I read the book twice. I listened to the audio book, and then all of a sudden my life completely changed because I was open to the idea of personal development and growing yourself. So in Domino's as a delivery driver, as soon as I started reading that book, within 2 weeks, I got promoted to manager. I met the vice president of Domino's, and I met the owner of the regional Domino's in the whole state of Texas and Tennessee. And I just realized something, that book taught me how to connect with people. It taught me how to be of influence, how to be a leader, how to communicate with people, how to not criticize and condemn people and not complain, how to have the Socrates mindset. And even though I was still working at Domino's, I was able to change the perspective and the way I viewed what I was doing as work, and that helped me move towards what I'm doing today. So as soon as I read that book, I got promoted to manager. I was in a leadership position at Domino's, and I thought to myself what my vision was in my life, and I did not see myself being a leader in the pizza industry. So I decided to quit that job, and a guy named Ty Lopez started what's called social media marketing agency. program. So me and my friend, we both invested $500. It was $1,000 course, and we made no money. Why? Because I didn't know how to sell. I was watching the course videos, and all of you guys who are in personal development understand this. Once you get opened up to personal development, you start buying different courses, you start buying books and everything that you need. You get all the information, but I was a what's called wannabe entrepreneur. I didn't do anything with what I was doing. I was connected with people, I was going to workshops, I was going to events, I was going to networking events, introducing myself, which was really good. I have a lot of connections from that now, but I wasn't making any money. So for about, I'd say 7 to 8 months, I was completely broke. And then one of my friends called me up. He said, "Hey, Jermaine, how does 35 grand a month sound?" He was a car salesman. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Hey, these dudes came down from Dallas. They just started a new business, and I wanted to introduce you to them." So I put on a suit and tie, had $25 in my bank account. My gas light was blinking, and I pulled up to a house. And I was like, "Why am I at this house here?" I walk inside, and of course, if you guys are in the network marketing industry, I got presented a network marketing business. Within 30 days, I got promoted to a leadership position, recruited 30 people into my business, and I was off to the races there. I started to introduce myself in front of hundreds of people at a time, introducing millionaires, and really diving deep and telling my story about how it went from $25 in my bank account to recruiting 30 people in my network marketing business. And it was phenomenal. I started to understand how to communicate with people better. I started speaking on stage a lot more. I started sharing my story. I started posting more on social media, and I started to get known. And at that time, it was funny because I created what's called, you guys know now, and a lot of people call me the MAINE KEY. And people laughed at me. I remember when I first started reading books and getting into personal development, people were laughing at me because of all the positivity and everything that I was posting. And I knew in myself that I had persistence, I had grit, and I knew it was something that spoke to me in my heart. So I had to share that message to other people. And I learned a valuable lesson. I forgot who I heard it from, but they told you first they laugh at you, then they watch you, and then they completely support you and rave and cheer with you. And then they get sad because they remember at some point when you were grinding in a very small point, when your business and your vision wasn't too big, but you had some tenacity, you had some passion about what you're doing. They realized that at that point when they made fun of me, that I was doing something great. And that's what I wanted to do for you guys, is that you can live a phenomenal life. After me blowing up that network marketing business, I just didn't understand how to retain and grow an organization. My upline leadership, there's a lot of unethical business going around. And for about 18 months, I made about $7,000, nothing crazy in network marketing. But I was able to speak in front of 1,100 people, connect with millionaires and people who had a mindset that was completely different than the way that I thought before. Les Brown told me one time, he said, "Hey Jermaine, when you're open to a new idea, a new concept, a new way of thinking, a new experience, you can never go back to the way you thought before." And at the age of 19, that's what happened to me. And that completely changed the trajectory of my life. It's been 5 years since I was 19, so that means I'm 24 now. And what happened was, after that network marketing experience, another friend called me up from that same network marketing company and said, "Hey Jermaine, I have another opportunity for you." He said, "This guy, he's 21 years old, he made 300 grand, and I think he would be a good connection for you." And what I understood at that very moment is that I was a person who was like marketing. And I didn't understand the very concept of how to make a transaction happen, and it's called sales. So it was a sales job, door knocking. So I knocked doors for 2 years. Within this whole experience, I was introduced to 2 billionaires, one that passed away, unfortunately. Shout out to and prayers to the Hanson family. They're a wonderful family. They really changed my life and the way that I thought and the way that I really connected with people. And then I met another billionaire, Todd Peterson. He's the CEO of the largest smart home company in the nation. And that's when the MAINE KEY really started to explode. I got a call from my friend about this 21-year-old making 300 grand. I flew to DC, made $500 my second day on the job. Flew to Utah to the headquarters of Vivint Smart Home, and I met Todd Peterson. And you know me, if you guys know me pretty well, I'm gonna introduce myself and shake hands with people who are of influence. So I took out my phone, just like this here. I saw Todd Peterson walking out of a leadership meeting, and I held up my phone. And I made a video with Todd Peterson, and I went viral in the largest smart home company in the world. And that's how the main key really blew up to the point that it's at right now. And I realized that I really need to expand what I'm doing with the main key. So after that, my first year, I started to knock doors, recruited 20 people into my business. As an organization, we did over $5,000 in gross revenue, $5 million. Ooh, I messed that up there. Cut that out. It's totally fine. We did $500,000 in production, in gross revenue in our first year. The next year, we did about $1 million in sales. I made $50,000 my first year, $75,000 my second year. And I helped a lot of young people between the ages of 19 and 22 make more money than they ever have in their life. And at this point right now, it's 2020. And 2020 was supposed to be the year where we have a great vision of our life, where our life would really take it to the next level. And that's what happened to me. I made the most money I ever have, but there was some dark times throughout this year that really helped me build my character, number one. And the other thing was help me understand what people I needed to be connected to, and understand where people's true intention came from. I've met a lot of people this year. I met a lot of people this year who said, this year, man, I made a lot of money, but emotionally, I really wasn't there. And that was the case for me. It was a lot of roller coasters. It was a lot of things that are out of my control that I really had to handle. From the pandemic, to the riots, to the Black Lives Matter, to the politics, the coronavirus, the Save the Children. There's a lot going on this year, and I was able to stay calm and stay focused in what I need to and accomplish some of the tasks that was at hand in that very moment. But to wrap everything up with what's going on here is that throughout my whole story that I just told you right now, there's very small synchronicities in there that I want to dive deep with you guys about, but I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know a little bit about my background, so you guys know where I'm headed. Because you can see some patterns from people. You can look at people's past and kind of predict their future. And the same thing for me. If I could look back at my past, I can kind of predict my future, and I can create the future for myself. So if you guys are interested in knowing more about me, shoot me a DM. Let's talk. I would love to connect with you guys. I have no intention to recruit you guys into a network marketing business or a direct sales business. Totally fine with that. I'm just here to add value in the best way that I can for you guys. So I appreciate everybody watching. My name is Jermaine Collins, and the main key of the day is tell your story.